So I was able to pick up this computer right here for only $240, and we are going to completely change how this system looks. Plus, we're going to give it a performance upgrade that this computer desperately needs. Now, once I start telling you what is inside of this system, I'm pretty sure you are going to agree that a $240 price tag was an absolute steal for the hardware that is inside of here, because it is a MSI B550 gaming motherboard. It does have a Ryzen 7 3700X CPU and 16 gigs of Aorus RGB RAM. It has a 600 watt RGB power supply, and it's inside of this Zellman case. The only thing that doesn't fit this computer that should be a absolute monster gaming PC is the GTX 770 that is inside of here. Now, I'm not hating on a GTX 770. There are plenty of people around the world who don't have a graphics card in their system at all and would be thrilled to have a 770 inside of their system. But what I'm trying to say is there is a Ryzen 7 3700X inside of this computer, and you're not doing that CPU justice with a 770. Now, for those of you who have been following the series for a while, you're probably curious as to how this PC is even sitting here today, because at the end of last week's episode, I did say that we only had $12 left in our bank to spend on more computers and computer upgrades, and $12 is barely enough to cover the cost of your McDonald's meal these days. So I wasn't going to be able to build any more computers, but I did have two computers that we were selling. That absolutely beast mode AM5 build that we put together 2 weeks ago, and the blue and white PC that we put together last week. And I am happy to say both of those computers did sell. We were able to sell that AM5 build for $1,000, and we were able to sell the blue and white PC for $800, bringing our new grand total to $1,812, which is way more than we need to make this thing look so good. Now, if you don't know what the build-up challenge is, don't worry, I'm gonna go over it really fast for you, because on this series we build and sell gaming PCs so that we can sell them for a profit and then save up those profits to eventually get to the point where we can build a top-tier computer. And we already finished Season 1's build, which was a 7800 X3D and a 4080, and that computer just got shipped off to the winner. So in this season of the build-up challenge, we are saving up to build an editing PC that is hopefully going to be unlike anything any of you have seen, but we still need to make quite a bit of money. So we're gonna have to try and make as much money as we can off of this PC, because I think that this computer is a good base to start with to build something that somebody is going to love for years to come. So, a really funny story about this PC is I actually thought that I had gotten ripped off for the first time when I bought this thing. Now, when I found the listing for this computer, there was a video of it running and playing games, and when I was messaging him, he actually said I had bought something from him before, and then I realized that I had actually bought a motherboard and CPU combo from this gentleman a while back for one of the builds that we did on the channel. I'm not 100% sure which one it was, but I was confident at that point that I was buying something that was legitimate, so I didn't really dig into it too much, because if he sold me something that was good last time, I had a strong feeling that he wasn't trying to rip me off. He was just trying to sell whatever he had. And I got home, I turned this thing on to see if it would, function, and everything booted up normally. All the fans were spinning, everything was great, and all of a sudden, all of the fans stopped spinning in the PC, including the CPU fan, which this is a 3700X. It gets hot. It needs a CPU fan. So I was worried that the motherboard was malfunctioning in this thing, but when I went into the BIOS, it actually was all the fans were set to DC, not PWM. So none of the fans were receiving power, and they just weren't working. And I felt a little foolish, because for at least an hour and a half, I was just blown away, and I was concerned that I had just gotten ripped off and I didn't know how we were gonna make money on this PC. Now, thankfully, I was able to figure out the very simple issue with the fans before I went ahead and purchased a brand new motherboard, because that's honestly what I thought the problem was. I thought that I was gonna have to replace the motherboard on this thing, and that would have definitely eat into our profits, because we're gonna try and make as much money as we possibly can with this system. So the design is gonna be a little different than what we usually do on the channel. Now, because the design is going to be a little different, we're going to be swapping out quite a few things, and I'll use the things that we're going to swap out in other builds, but I'm going to be putting in some stuff that I've pulled out of previous builds that will match the design of what we're going for a whole lot better. Now, in saving money and trying to make as much money on this computer as we possibly can, that's where today's sponsor comes in, because today's video is actually sponsored by Musetex. They sent me over their Y6 case, and I'm pretty sure that this case is gonna help us sell this computer, because this is one really pretty case. Now, after we go ahead and build this system, which I am super excited to do, I don't know if you can tell by the fact that I can't stop moving, I am super pumped to put this computer together. But after I go ahead and put this system together, we will go ahead and test some gameplay just so you can see how well this system is performing in some very demanding games. Plus, I will go over the total cost of what it took to put this system together, as well as what we're going to try and sell this thing for. So let's get going, because I have been looking forward to this all week. So with the majority of computers on Facebook Marketplace being packed full of RGB, because RGB does in fact help sell your computer, this thing needed to look spectacular in order to try and compete with those other listings, and I definitely think that we succeeded in that because this computer looks fantastic. Now, the Y6 case by Musetex here definitely helped set this computer apart. If I would have done this exact same build in that other case, I don't think we would have captured as much attention on this system as we will with this case right here. Now, this is the Y6 by Musetex, and it does come in black and white. If you wanted to check it out for yourself, I will put links to it in the description down below. But this case is definitely designed for those new motherboards with the connections in the back. It has all of the cutouts you would need in order to put one of those new motherboards in there. But as I do budget builds and we do flip computers, I don't really have access to those brand new motherboards that are extremely expensive and brand new. So you're not really gonna find a whole lot of that on Facebook Marketplace. Now, the full-size ATX board in here was posing a few issues. It was a little bit more difficult to get the entire system wired up appropriately and cable managed inside of here, but it is not impossible. And I think that this shows you right here that it's definitely doable and your system will turn out looking just really, really great. Now, there was one change that I had to make to the final build for this system, and that is the power supply that is in here is in fact the original power supply that came with the original system. I was going to change it out for this 750 watt Qtips supply, and the reason I wanted to do that is because this is a non-RGB power supply, and the original power supply is an RGB power supply that you can't control, so the RGB is always on no matter what, and I didn't want that in a fully blacked out system. But when I went to go load up a game in here, once that graphics card started pulling electricity from this power supply, the coil whine was absolutely unbearable, and I definitely did not want to sell a computer that is making an audible noise that is annoying. Now, if you don't know what coil whine, it's just the difference in frequencies from your graphics card and your power supply. Now, it can happen with your CPU, it can happen with your motherboard. It just depends on what frequency that component is pulling electricity at, and if it differs from the frequency that the power supply is generating, and it creates this whining noise. And it's not necessarily bad for any unit. It's not gonna really hurt anything, and you can continue to use the system. It's just an annoying thing, and I didn't want that, so I went back and I used the original power supply that came with the system. But once we went ahead and fixed the coil whine issue with this PC and jumped into some games, this system did not disappoint at all, because in God of War at its ultra preset, this system was getting a beautiful 91 FPS on average. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna grow my beard out like Kratos. That dude just looks epic. Now, jumping into Battlefield 2042, also at its max preset, this system is grabbing an average frame rate of 98 FPS. In Gotham Knights, at another max preset, we're getting 97 FPS on average while we were jumping around the city. And for the last game that I tested, I decided to play Helldivers due to its massive popularity right now. And this system was handling this game with no issue at a max preset and getting us a stunning 84 FPS on average. Now, I did tell you guys in the beginning of the video that now that we've sold those two pretty expensive computers, we have quite a bit of money in our bank to build more systems, but thankfully we didn't need to spend very much of that money to build this system right here, and a large part of that is thanks to Musetex for sending over their Y6 case here, because this is a make money however you can type of season, and I did say that sponsorships are fair game, so this is definitely going to help us make a little extra profit to get us to our end goal a little bit faster. Now, I did swap out quite a few things, and they were for things that I had sitting around, like all of the fans inside of here, besides the 3 included fans with the Y6, They're just fans that I've pulled off of previous systems, and they just sit in my bin full of fans. So I just pulled a bunch of them out that matched pretty well, and I threw those in here. And then I switched out the RAM for that Corsair LPX RAM instead of this RGB RAM, obviously because this is a black build. I'll use this RAM in another build, probably next week's build, because I have some good plans for that build. And I really like this RAM. It's really, really nice RAM. And the case that came with the original system, I have a plan to use that case in another build because it's not a bad case, it's just not as beautiful as this case right here. Now, the total cost to put this entire system together is actually pretty stunning. I paid $240 for the original system, and the original system had pretty much anything you needed in order to get the computer working and playing games, other than that graphics card that was a little dated. And I paid only $280 for the 4070 Ti that is in here, and I think that that is a stunning price for a triple fan 4070 Ti. I mean, this thing is a beast and it is pumping out some fantastic gameplay. So the total build cost to put this entire system together was only $520. I think we're gonna make quite a bit of money on this system. Now, when it comes to the list price for this system right here, I am having a little bit of a struggle figuring out what I want to list this computer for. Now, I will post it at a high price and I can adjust it as we go, but anytime I have tried to sell a computer that doesn't have any RGB, it always takes way longer to sell that computer. I mean, take the computer, the all-white computer that we did in season 1. I don't remember what episode it was, but that computer, I thought it looked fantastic. It only had a very small amount of RGB on the graphics card, but the rest of it was like matte white. And I thought it looked great, but I had that computer for like a month before somebody finally bought that system from me. And if you look at like last week's computer, the blue and white computer that we put together, that thing is gorgeous. And the design of that computer 100% helped us get $800 for that system. Now it is that was a 10400 system with a 3060. And that's not a bad computer at all, but I definitely got more money for it because of the look of it. So I'm going to, let's say $880 as the list price for this computer. And I can adjust it. I can adjust it depending on how well it's doing. Now you can tell me that this PC isn't a blacked out PC because there is RGB on the motherboard that I did not turn off, but I didn't turn it off on purpose because when I turn it off, the computer just looks too black. I kind of like that like ambiance of color changing in the back. It's very subtle and I feel like it helped kind of break up just pure darkness. Now, I did need to take a second to say thank you to my YouTube channel members. I never even expected to have one person sign up for a membership to my channel, but now we have 4 and I'm just very grateful. Thank you guys so much for helping support the channel. It means the world to me. Now, you don't need to sign up for a membership. Watching the videos and enjoying the content is more than enough. And if you had fun with me today, go ahead down to the bottom, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button as well. It definitely helps me out a whole lot. But even if you don't want to do any of that, I hope that no matter where you are in the world, you are having the most fantastic day. I'm gonna see you right here for the next episode.